Welcome into the Real Matrix. We have been taping these shows for quite a while. A lot of stuff's going on. When you do see or hear a show, you're going to be seeing and hearing it months after we taped it. And what actually happened here this last week, the taping was the assassination, murder of Charlie Kirk. Whether you think whatever you think of him, and I thought he was a fantastic human being and individual. But even if you don't, if you think he's some kind of I don't even know what you could think of, because his words, he wanted to speak with those that maybe disagreed with his opinion. He wanted discussions, talking. Here on the Real Matrix, we talk about how the world elite, the people, the shadowy people that really run things behind the scenes, that it's really a fight almost of good and evil. And Charlie Kirk was on the side of good. You can argue and maybe say you've heard things that you don't like that what he said, but he wanted to have discussions to bring people together, because again, these what I consider criminals that are running everything behind the scenes, they want division. They want us divided. Talked about it before in the show. Divide and conquer. If we are all divided in our opinions, it's easy to put forth your agenda, because we're all arguing amongst ourselves, whether it be Democrat, Republican, left, right, man, woman, heterosexual, homosexual, you name it, black, white, whatever. They want us divided. And we should be a country that at least agrees for the fact that we should be for America. We should be for each other. We should be for the prosperity of each other. And somehow, somewhere along the way, we have lost track that it doesn't sound like people even want to have a discussion about it. And that's why, in regards to the message here, in regards to the Real Matrix, it's a case of I'm trying not to say this is how it is. I want you to look at the facts and then just keep an open mind in regards to, and use your critical thinking and think, is everything that we've been told, is that the truth? Or is there a hidden agenda? Is there hidden propaganda that is pushing us down a path that isn't true? So on this show today, we're going to be talking and be listening, and we're going to hear the words of Dr. David Martin. And we're going to touch on COVID. I mean, we could probably do 100,000 shows on COVID and what I believe was a scam from the beginning. But I want to bring Dr. David Martin's words to you, because he is super intellectual. I'm going to talk a little bit about him. He started the company MCAM International. It provided research and corporate advisory services to over hundreds of different companies, corporations, governments. Was an advisor to the World Bank. And I've talked before how world bankers are really at the heart of this propaganda agenda to ruin our economies, our lives, make it difficult for us so that they become richer. We get into debt more with them. So he was in this up to his neck. And because he is providing analysis and research for this, he gets really deep into the information. He is super intellectual, and he when he brings comments about COVID and the shots and where it came from and how it was developed, he has the receipts. He has done the research, deep diving research. So I want to get started initially. We're going to see Dr. David Martin. This was in a discussion at the International COVID Summit in 2023. We're gonna see that first, and obviously, well after COVID is now gone, I still talk to people who say they're for vaccines and they wouldn't have been saved from COVID without a vaccine. And we're gonna dive into the whole vaccine issue in regards to people and what dangers it could be causing, what things it could be causing negatively for people's health out there. And it's not just a personal opinion. We're gonna talk to people who are really up against the fight against Big Pharma, because really the fight comes down to Big Pharma says vaccines are great. Get a vaccine. They're totally safe for you. No problems, as they're making trillions of dollars. So as you would imagine, if they're making money on it, they're not going to say, hey, you know what? There's some really health consequences here. You probably shouldn't get one. So, and the other people who are coming out, who are knowledgeable, experts in the health field, who are coming out with this information, they usually come out with this information and they are pariahs in the health industry. They lose their job, they lose their license, they lose financial backing, they lose everything, because they're up against and fighting against Big Pharma. If you have those two options and you were to ask me, who would I believe? Someone who is continually raking in mega profits and mega money from their point of view, or the other point, who people are putting their careers, their lives on the line to bring a truth that they feel is a truth. I think I'm going to believe that group. And I want to bring you that information. You need to be open-minded on it. You're not going to find this in mainstream media. You're not going to find it in open media, because the largest advertiser in all TV is Big Pharma. and even if you don't see their commercials more often than not, they are the largest financial provider to the media, all the mainstream media. So if you spend the most money with someone, you have a voice. And that really shuts up the voice of the news or those organizations and they won't come out and say, yes, there is a problem with vaccines, or yes, there's a problem with these medications or these treatment methods. They won't say it, and they won't even look into it, because the gravy train's rolling. The money's rolling in. So let's get to Dr. David Martin. We'll play the first clip here, Riley.
Most of you don't know that coronavirus as a model of a pathogen was isolated in 1965. Coronavirus was identified in 1965 as one of the first infectious replicatable viral models that could be used to modify a series of other experiences of the human condition. It was isolated once upon a time associated with the common cold. But what's particularly interesting about its isolation in 1965 was that it was immediately identified as a pathogen that could be used and modified for a whole host of reasons. And you heard me correctly, that was 1965. And by the way, these slides are public domain. You're welcome to look at every single reference. Every comment that I made is based on published material. So do make sure that you look at those references. But in 1966, the very first COV coronavirus model was used as a transatlantic biological experiment in human manipulation. And you heard the date, 1966. I hope you're getting the point of what I'm saying. This is not an overnight thing. This is actually something that's been long in the making. A year before I was born, we had the first transatlantic coronavirus data sharing experiment between the United States and the United Kingdom. And in 1967, the year I was born, we did the first human trials on inoculating people with modified coronavirus. Isn't that amazing? 56 years ago, the overnight success of a pathogen that's been 56 years in engineering. And I want that to chill with all of you. Where were we when we actually allowed, in violation of biological and chemical weapons treaties, where were we as a human civilization when we thought it was an acceptable thing to do to take a pathogen for the United States and infect the world with it?
So I probably didn't set that up as well as I should have, but so in regards to the coronavirus and COVID, there are still people out there that don't realize that COVID was manufactured in a lab. He speaks right there that these scientists and health officials were working on what this COVID coronavirus does before we were born, before you were probably born. And you imagine, what is that, 60 years of research? You don't think somewhere along the lines they found a way to manufacture that, weaponize it? You've probably heard all about biolabs and bioweapons and we as a humanity, as humans, always said that's terrible because we don't want to let that get out and get that out to anyone. I don't want to die from that, so we don't want bioweapons. Well, yeah, that's great. You should feel that way, but that doesn't mean they didn't stop doing it. They did it secretly. They did it behind our backs. And Dr. David Martin has the evidence. He has the documents that say that. And he's talked about the fact that Dr. Anthony Fauci has spent well over almost $200 million in regards to research in being able to change and make that coronavirus a potential weapon to get people sick. When he says, I want you to chill with that. Yeah, 1965, we're unaware of that stuff. And they talked about COVID coming from a wet market in China. Well, as you can see, they've been working on this information and the ability to do this for well over 60 years. In the next clip, I know he's going to talk about a chimera, and that's a case where I just want to preface that by saying that's a cell that is made up of two or more different organisms. So what they're doing is they're taking these cells, these organisms, this coronavirus, and they're changing it, adjusting it to make it potentially dangerous. Why would anyone do that? Why would anyone do that unless they're using that as a weapon? So let's play more from Dr. David Martin.
Ironically, the common cold was turned into a chimera in the 1970s. And in 1975, 1976, and 1977, we started figuring out how to modify coronavirus by putting it into different animals, pigs and dogs. And not surprisingly, by the time we got to 1990, we found out that coronavirus as an infectious agent was an industrial problem for two primary industries, the industries of dogs and pigs. Dog breeders and pigs found that coronavirus created gastrointestinal problems, and that became the basis for Pfizer's first spike protein vaccine patent filed, are you ready for this, in 1990. Did you hear what I just said? 1990. Operation Warp Speed? I'm sorry. Where's the warp and the speed? Pfizer, 1990, the very first spike protein vaccine for coronavirus. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't it fascinating that we were told that, well, the spike protein is a new thing. We just found out that that's the problem. No. As a matter of fact, we didn't just find out it was not just now the problem. We found that out in 1990 and filed the first patents on vaccines in 1990 for the spike protein of coronavirus. And who would have thought? Pfizer. Clearly the innocent organization that does nothing but promote human health. Clearly Pfizer. The organization that has not bought the votes in this chamber and in every chamber of every government around the world. Not that Pfizer. Certainly they wouldn't have had anything to do with this. But oh yes, they did. And in 1990, they found out that there was a problem with vaccines. They didn't work. You know why they didn't work? It turns out that coronavirus is a very malleable model. It transforms and it changes and it mutates over time. As a matter of fact, every publication on vaccines for coronavirus from 1990 until 2018, every single publication concluded that coronavirus escapes the vaccine impulse because it modifies and mutates too quickly for vaccines to be effective. And since 1990 to 2018, that is the published science, ladies and gentlemen. That's following the science. Following the science is their own indictment of their own programs that said it doesn't work. And there are thousands of publications to that effect, not a few hundred, and not paid for by pharmaceutical companies. These are publications that are independent scientific research that shows unequivocally, including efforts of the chimera modifications made by Ralph Baric in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. All of them show vaccines do not work on coronavirus. That's the science. And that science has never been disputed.
So let me repeat what he said. And if people don't realize this, and unfortunately some people are unaware, that viruses or these illnesses or these organisms, if they are so bad and so serious that they kill you, they also kill themselves. So these viruses or toxins, or however you want to describe them, they will change much faster than what we could ever provide in regards to a vaccine to fight them. So when COVID hit, this was a manufactured illness, and they had a manufactured shot to fight that. But immediately, the virus started to mutate, and then those vaccines aren't really doing anything, but they are doing something because you're injecting them with a spike protein, which is a toxin. It's a toxin to your body. And now, unfortunately, people who have gotten those vaccines, if they have a spike protein problem still in their body, that's how people were dying with heart attacks, turbo cancers. We'll go over that in the future in regards to shows. You saw a lot of athletes dying at a young age. It just didn't. It never happened before COVID. You can say, well, there were athletes who died on the field. They had heart defects. These people were dying with no heart defects. These were healthy individuals dropping dead in the middle of prime of their life. I'll bring up the fact of Damar Hamlin, and I'm a sports guy, so Damar Hamlin, the defensive back for the Buffalo Bills. He dropped dead on the field. Now, if they didn't have that medical personnel on the field with trainers and doctors, they brought him back from the dead more than once. They got his heart started. It stopped again. They brought it back again. So when people say about Damar Hamlin, well, it was Commiocortis, which is when you get hit in the chest with like a ball or some hard object. You get it at the right time, the unfortunate right time, your heart can stop and you can have a heart attack. It definitely wasn't commiocortis, and the reason is when you have commiocortis and you shock the heart back into rhythm, you're fine. So his heart did not get, they couldn't get it back into rhythm. They tried numerous times. That's not commiocortis. And he had shoulder pads on, so that deflects the blow, doesn't work for that. And when he hit that, when he made the hit in the football game, he got up, staggered for a couple seconds, and then fell. If you have commiocortis, you're out immediately. There's no delayed reaction. So for all those reasons, it wasn't commiocortis. He had a heart attack and should have died. And the reason is, and I've seen evidence of this, that he had gotten a booster, vaccine booster, a week before that game that he had this event in. These vaccines were meant to be dangerous, and people are unaware of it. We'll show that. We'll show that in future events, in future shows, future talks. But what Dr. David Martin is pointing out is this is not a happenstance illness that came upon us and that we made up this fantastic vaccine that was going to save us. It's not the case. Again, the virus was very bad when it started out in the beginning because obviously it was manufactured to be bad. But very soon after that, that virus was changing. That organism was changing, and it wasn't going to be as serious and deadly. And those medical personnel knew that. So let's continue. And then in regards to Pfizer, people think like this was a overnight thing. They had a patent in 1990. Who was aware of that? Thank you, Dr. David Martin, for pointing all this out. And he'll continue in regards to where this was patented. And there's so many patents on this coronavirus, but it happened right here in North Carolina at UNC. Riley, next clip.
But then we had an interesting development in 2002, and this date is most important. Because in 2002, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill patented, and I quote, an infectious replication defective clone of coronavirus. Listen to those words, infectious replication defective. What does that phrase actually mean? For those of you not familiar with language, let me unpack it for you. Infectious replication defective means a weapon. It means something meant to target an individual, but not have collateral damage to other individuals. That's what infectious replication defective means. And that patent was filed in 2002 on work funded by NIAID's Anthony Fauci from 1999 to 2002. And that work, patented at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, mysteriously preceded SARS 1.0 by a year. Dave, are you suggesting that SARS 1.0 wasn't from a wet market in Wuhan? Are you suggesting it might have come from a laboratory in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill? No, I'm not suggesting it. I'm telling you that's the facts. We engineered SARS. SARS is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. The naturally occurring phenomenon is called the common cold. It's called influenza-like illness. It's called gastroenteritis. That's the naturally occurring coronavirus. SARS is the research developed by humans weaponizing a life system model to actually attack human beings. And they patented it in 2000.
How does that make sense? Now, if you just think, again, coronavirus was just something that happened accidentally, why all these patents? Why have they been? And now again, he said this started in 1965. Now in 2002, that's almost 40 years later, they came up with a patent And what, do you think they haven't been working on this for a while? What do you think these research institutes do? What do you think these doctors or these scientists do? Think they just go to the office and twiddle their thumbs? This has been worked on for years and years and years. And why isn't our government fighting it? Why isn't our representatives fighting it? Because just like the media, our government representatives are funded in their campaigns by Big Pharma. Big Pharma gives them multitudes of money, and you think a congressman or a representative of our government's going to talk badly about one of their largest donors and contributors' business and their business model and how they make money? If they say that, the spigot gets turned off. So again, those are all just that's what goes to show you how complicated this is, how interwoven this is. And the people who will say stuff about it don't have a financial interest in it. I have no financial interest in it. I'm not making anything. I'm spending my time and my money and giving myself headaches over the fact that this is occurring in our society. This is occurring to people that I potentially don't even care about. Like I said, I'm not a great humanitarian. If you want to get a vaccine, you want to continue to get vaccines, I'm sure the Big Pharma will continue to make them and continue to provide them for you. You're going to be paying for them, or we're going to be paying for them with our tax dollars if it's taken care of by Medicare or your insurance or whatever it may be. I don't like that fact, but if you want to do that, you should have the ability to do that. Believe in total freedom. I think the issue, the only reason I'm bringing this up is I think there's people out there that are unaware, don't know. Take the information, do with it what you want. If you want to get a vaccine, you want more problems, you want to go crazy, go for it. Do it. But look at the information, search it down, because if you don't, I guess you don't really care about your health. You don't really care about your future. You don't really care about where we're going as a society. And we can't all be, we can't all think that that's important. Other people, whatever. Do your thing. Next clip, rather.
Here. When the CDC in April of 2003 filed the patent on SARS coronavirus isolated from humans, what did they do? They downloaded a sequence from China and filed a patent on it in the United States. Any of you familiar with biological and chemical weapons treaties knows that's a violation. That's a crime. That's not an innocent oops. That's a crime. And the United States Patent Office went as far as to reject that patent application on 2 occasions until the CDC decided to bribe the Patent Office to override the patent examiner to ultimately issue the patent in 2007 on SARS coronavirus.
So, he was just saying another way, just like I said, it's all about money, and money can work its way around everything. He's saying that our patent office was bribed by the CDC or NIH or our health officials to be able to get that through. And, I don't have the documents that show that, but let's think about this critically. Again, Big Pharma makes more money than God in regards to these vaccines. I think they're going to push them whether they're healthy for you or not. That's point one. Point two, Dr. David Martin is pointing these things out. He's pointed it out. He in one of the earlier clips, he said he's not inferring it. He is just stating this is what's a fact. If he was telling a lie or there was any kind of fib room in there, he would be sued by Fauci, NIH, CDC. there's no suits going on. Nobody's questioning what he's saying. He's still living life, enjoying life, and he probably would say, yes, please bring that suit on so that we can make this more of public knowledge. No one is arguing what Dr. David Martin is saying. And when you do this in a very public forum, you become a target. He's not fearful. He's not fearful because he has what I think to be the information on his side that proves the point. Let's get on to the next clip.
In 2005, this particular pathogen was specifically labeled as a bioterrorism and bioweapon platform technology. Described as such. That's not my terminology that I'm applying to it. It was actually described as a bioweapons platform technology in 2005. And from 2005 onwards, it was actually a biowarfare enabling agent, its official classification from 2005 forward. I don't know if that sounds like public health to you. Does it? Biological warfare enabling technology. That feels like not public health. That feels like not medicine. That feels like a weapon designed to take out humanity. That's what it feels like. And it feels like that because that's exactly what it is. We have been lured into believing that EcoHealth Alliance and DARPA and all of these organizations are what we should be pointing to. But we've been specifically requested to ignore the facts that over $10 billion have been funneled through black operations through the check of Anthony Fauci and a side-by-side ledger where NIAID has a balance sheet and next to it is a biodefense balance sheet equivalent dollar-for-dollar matching that no one in the media talks about. And it's been going on since 2005. Our gain-of-function moratorium, the moratorium that was supposed to freeze any efforts to do gain-of-function research. Conveniently, in the fall of 2014, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill received a letter from NIAID saying that while the gain-of-function moratorium on coronavirus in vivo should be suspended, because their grants had already been funded, they received an exemption. Did you hear what I just said? A biological weapons lab facility at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, received an exemption from the gain-of-function moratorium so that by 2016, we could publish the journal article that said, SARS coronavirus is poised for human emergence in 2016. And what, you might ask, Dave, was the coronavirus poised for human emergence? It was WIV1, Wuhan Institute of Virology Virus 1. Poised for human emergence in 2016 at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, such that by the time we get to 2017 and 2018, the following phrase entered into common parlance among the community. There is going to be an accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen. The operative word, obviously, in that phrase, the word release. Does that sound like leak? Does that sound like a bat and a pangolin went into a bar in the Wuhan market and hung out and had sex and lo and behold, we got SARS-CoV-2? No. Accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen was the terminology used, and 4 times in April of 2019, 7 months before the allegation of patient number 1, 4 patent applications of Moderna were modified to include the term accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen as the justification for making a vaccine for a thing that did not exist.
He has the receipts. When actually we're showing him talking, but as he said in the first clip, he has slides. They're all public knowledge. They're all public information. This is all stuff he's talking about that is undisputable. You can check it. You can go down the rabbit hole. obviously he's quite brilliant and he's quite the researcher, and he has all that information. And again, if any of these were lies, pretty sure they would be dragged into court. He's not, because he has the truth, and they're hoping he will go away. So, I tell you what, we're running short on time. On the other side, we'll continue with Dr. David Martin and more information regards the COVID and how it was thrown on top of us here in the Real Matrix. Want to make your love life sizzle like a Phoenix summer? Summit Male Medical guarantees to help you with ED or premature issues, or we won't charge you. We've helped tens of thousands of patients here in the Valley since 2008. Please compare our most experienced medical staff and low-price treatments to anybody. If you've talked to the rest, it's time to come to the best. Put the sizzle back in your love life. 480-398-1000 or go to summitmalemedical.com. Summit Medical, love for life.